Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to talk through the interface on Pianoteq for iOS devices. Now just to explain, I'm running the Pro version of Pianoteq, which has a few minor differences in terms of what you see on the screen compared to the demo version, the version of Stage and the version of Standard. What I'll try to do during this is just to highlight where things which are on my screen aren't on the lower versions of Pianoteq, but you'll quickly get the idea of what's going on. So when we open Pianoteq for the first time, you get the splash screen, which just explains what Pianoteq is and how to use it, and also an explanation on the unlocking and how you do that, which is in the options, which we'll get to. But for now, we'll just cancel this splash screen, and this lets us into the main Pianoteq screen. So there's quite a lot going on the screen, and the whole point of today's video is to just explain some of it. We'll see on the edges, we've got some arrows saying drag here, which just basically tells you if you drag up and down, you will see stuff vertically on the screen. There was also a drag to the left and right on the side. If you do that, it brings up a playable bigger keyboard as opposed to the playable little keyboard. If we go to the very top of the screen, we have a MIDI file player. This comes with a standard blues demo, but you can load in any of your own MIDI files just by clicking on the name and click load MIDI file. And when you load that in, you can see in very, very tiny dots, that's the MIDI file. You don't need to worry about that. What you need to worry about is the play control stuff. So you've got play, you've got stop, you've got rewind to the beginning, fast forward to the end. You've also got a record button, and if you click record and go away and play in Pianoteq, it will record what you're playing, and then you can play it back, you can save it, which is quite a nice little feature. Now, if you're running the iPhone version or a smaller screen, you might not see this MIDI file player straight away. There's a little down arrow in the top left-hand corner, which if you click that, it will drop down. Also, bear in mind, this is only present in the standalone version. If you're running this as an AUV3, the file player bit doesn't exist. So, if we hit play now, it will start playing. And this is using whatever instrument you've got loaded in. So currently this is a New York Steinway Model D in the classical setting. If you click on the instrument details below, it opens your presets. And it's done in two main pages. If you already own a number of instruments, they will appear on the first page. So you see I've got a number of acoustic pianos there. And if you go onto any of them, there are multiple different versions of that instrument. But if we go into this bottom right-hand corner, and this gives you access to all the different instruments, but with limitations. Namely, there's a few keys which don't work, so that you press them and they're silent, and there's a time limit after which the instrument stops making any sound. And you can reset that, but it just allows you to have a play around with some of the instruments and decide whether or not they're instruments that you wish to purchase, as they're all available as in-app purchases within the app. When you open an instrument which is a demo, it tells you you're running a demo. It tells you which plaque it's in, should you wish to purchase it, gives you the option for more information and to purchase it, and just advises you that the keys are disabled in places and it will go silent after a period of time. So that's how you navigate around your different presets. If we move across to we'll go to the top right. Now we'll ignore these two options for now. These are only available on Pianoteq Standard and Pianoteq Pro, and they relate to things that you can modify on the instrument, which are options that's not available in the Stage version and the demo version. In the top right, we have a metronome, which we can set to tick away. And we can change the tempo and time signature, volume, and where the accent is. Below that, we've got a context-sensitive help. You click that, and it opens up an interface, and it allows you, if you click on things, it will tell you what they are and what they do. So if you're ever stuck, there's a help file with really helpful information all to hand. To get out of help, we hit close. Options, where you can connect your MIDI inputs. So you see here I've got my Keylab and I've got the iRig MIDI 2, which is attached to my piano. There's an option as well to enable and disable background audio. And the reason for this is, again, to save power on devices. Obviously, if it's running in background the whole time, it will consume more power. But it also means that if it's running in background audio and the screen goes off, you still get sound. So it swings and roundabouts. On the MIDI channels, we have information about what's going on. So if you press a note, those MIDI notes are all recorded, including the velocity. So that can be quite useful just to see what's going on if you need to debug something. Performance, again, this will give you information as to whether you're driving your iPad too hard or there's plenty of scope. There's a couple of little options in here, keeping CPU busy for older devices. What could tend to happen if the CPU was dropping down in its intensity in between doing something, it could sometimes cause a spike in the audio. And the reason this keep CPU busy was made as an option was obviously if you don't need to be driving the CPU all the time, then that saves power and battery and all that sort of good stuff. We've got the sample rate again and our polyphony, so we can change that. So you can have 256 polyphony if you've got 256 fingers. Under general, again, we've got information in terms of your tooltips, chords, which it displays in the bottom right hand corner, the language, and it also allows you to adjust what you're doing with the MIDI player. So the blues demo is the embedded MIDI file, but you can add any other MIDI file that you want and get that to load up as standard. We've clicked on the instruments already, but basically this is where you go in and you purchase any instruments. I've got a few authorized there, as we can see, but then we've got the prices of the other instruments, and then you just click to purchase and away you go. And in the about, we've just got some information. Obviously, I will have covered up my personal details there. That tells you what version of Pianoteq you're running, which again is useful if you need to send a bug report back to the developers. So we're back to the main screen. We've got some further options here where we can access the instrument lists on that first one, and we've got all our instruments down the right hand side, and then you can pick banks and set them as favorites, all that sort of stuff, so you can get hold of them more quickly. You can save, if you make a change to a preset, you can save your changes as a different preset name. You can copy any of the settings that you've created within Pianoteq, so you'll be able to paste them into, if you create something in one preset and then you go into a different one, you can then paste the information across. There's the option to freeze the parameters. There is a parameter randomize. You've got undo, you've got redo, and then these last three are Pianoteq's option to be able to store two presets in memory, and then you can just switch between them, switching between A or B. And the little equals or not equals sign just basically tells you whether A and B are the same or if they're different. If I scroll up the screen, we've got the picture of our piano, and on the Pianoteq Pro and Standard, there are a whole pile of options which are hidden under here. I'm not going to go into those today. This is just a basic introduction of the interface. We'll look at the more advanced features in a different video. At the bottom of the screen, we have our velocity curve, which we can calibrate for our keyboard. Now, this rather janky line that I've got here is the calibrated velocity curve for my digital piano. We can switch between velocity, note off functions, pedal functions, and aftertouch. And the important thing to note here is Pianoteq can understand things such as half pedaling. Now, that relies on the hardware. If you've just got a basic pedal for your MIDI keyboard, then it would just trigger as an on-off thing. There's nothing you can do about that. That's a hardware limitation. So there's an option to calibrate all these functions here. You can reset them back to factory. And then you've got an option to set this information globally or just for one particular instrument. In the middle, we've got our microphones option, so you can set up how the piano is effectively being picked up in software. On the Standard and Pro versions of Pianoteq, this option allows you to start positioning microphones in different places, but on Stage and the basic demo, that just allows you to adjust the tuning of the piano. We've got a volume information here, which we can then mute. We've got a volume control, and then we've got dynamic range. So below that, we've got our pedals, we've got our sustain pedal, we've got our soft pedal, we've got a ostinato pedal, and we've got a harmonics pedal. Now you can change any of these functions just by long pressing on them, and it allows you to change what the pedal is. Finally, on this section, we've got our finer controls, which again, depending on the version of Pianoteq, can change. The action on the Pro version has quite a lot more information that you can fiddle with than the basic Stage version. Again, I'll put a screenshot on for you. The mallet bounce is the same for both versions. The equalizer, again, is very, very similar. There's more functionality on the Standard and Pro, but the main equalizer is available for all versions. Note effects, this screen is the same on all versions and allows you to manipulate the overall sound of the instrument. So the effects give you options such as delay, your EQing, your reverb, but there's also a whole list of all the things that you can add in to affect the sound, and that's available on all versions. And you can turn each of these things on and off with a click of a button. At the bottom of the screen, we've got our little piano keyboard, and we've got a instrument condition slider. So at the moment we're on mint, and it all sounds very nice. We can weather the instrument a little bit, so let's take it to a 1, which is halfway. You can see the screen's gone a bit sort of sepia. So there's a few more harmonics and other sounds going on in there. And again, if we take it all the way to 1, this is a very trashed piano. So if you're aiming to try and get a specific sound of a piano, you can adjust it accordingly. So if we just play the instrument away again, it sits there playing. You can see that it's recording my pedaling. It seems to be very sustained pedal heavy on this one. If we were to change the instrument, it would carry on playing, but with a different instrument. So let's say perhaps go for a upright closed. So I hope that was a helpful little look at the interface of Pianoteq. I will dive far deeper into some of the specifics in future videos, but if there is anything that you're particularly interested in, do leave a comment down below and I will look into seeing if I can get you some information about that. In any case, if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. It does help the channel and it helps the algorithm know that people have watched the video. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification thing, and YouTube will also tell you that I've uploaded a video, perhaps, maybe, you never know. But aside from that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.